Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, Two Scoops is bringing you 5 reflections on freedom. 1. Like beauty, freedom too is in the eye of the beholder. The human mind is complicated like that. So complicated as to make possible the existence of billionaires imprisoned by their wealth even as they bathe in a sea of freedom, as well as struggling artists who claim freedom of mind even as they are imprisoned by their lack of means.
The way we think about freedom is different. It depends on our current situation. There is no cut and dry way to decide when one person can actually feel free in a situation. For this case, there are so many wealthy people out there who should in theory feel free, but they don't. But then at the same time, we have so many people out there struggling in life financially. They don't have the resources, and they have somehow a greater sense of freedom when compared to people who have way more means than they do.
And that's how it is. Point 2. The desire for freedom is a virus dormant within all of us, harmless until we are made awake to its existence, after which there is no way back. We start by freeing ourselves from the most immediate oppressor, only to realize that whatever bigger chains after that can no longer hold the mind that has tasted its first drop of freedom.
When we look for freedom for the first time in whatever that freedom means for each one of us, like for one person it might mean freedom to do as they wish, like for example not having to work, or freedom from one's parents, meaning that they don't have to explain anything to them or explain anything to anyone. Whatever freedom means to a person, the first time the person acquires that sense of freedom is not the last time, meaning that the moment the person feels free for the first time, or the person gets the sense of freedom for the first time, they get addicted to it on some level, meaning that there is no, if there is anything else that would stop them from being free in any way, that something becomes the next target, just as the first target was.
Number 3. Freedom and fulfillment go hand in hand. One can have everything and not feel free when life lacks fulfillment. One can have nothing but fulfillment, and the feeling of freedom is guaranteed. Freedom is not a physical experience, but a mental one.
This one goes back to the first point again, that the definition of freedom is not cut and dry, meaning that just because you have resources, just because you have means, just because you have money, just because you have anything really, doesn't necessarily mean that you can have your sense of freedom, even if those things you think you have are in some way representations of freedom. Like for example, having money and owning your own house doesn't necessarily mean that you will feel free. The most important thing about freedom is not to look physically free, but to be more mentally free.
Point 4. We live in an evolutionary world of the survival of the fittest, where freedom is both a commodity and an inconvenience. One has to protect its freedom with teeth and nails, or Mother Nature will take it.
This one is more about how keeping one's freedom is not as simple as it may seem. That one person being free means that their freedom means that someone else's freedom is somehow limited. Because if everybody is able to be free, completely free to do it as they wish, somebody will have to have their freedom reduced in some way or another. Like for example, in the times of slavery, when we have this group of people who would be able to have or literally own a human being and get them to do whatever they want to do 24/7, we would have this other group of people who would have their freedom restricted. So in this world where everybody is technically free, there's still some sort of competition for this big pie that we would call freedom. And if you don't take care of it, if you don't keep an eye on it, if you don't protect it, someone with bigger interests in mind, as we can say, would in some way try to reduce or take your freedom away from you.
Period. Number 5. One's freedom is often in conflict with the rest of the world. We all have the right to do as we wish, as long as it doesn't interfere with anyone's ability to do the same. In a way, freedom is like a giant pie available to everyone. There is a limited share of it to an infinite number of us, not an infinite share to a few of us.
Okay, for this one, what we mean by being in conflict with the rest of the world is that anybody's free to do what they want as long as it doesn't interfere with someone else's ability to do it. It's essentially the same idea as the previous one, that if you eat more of your pie then or you eat more of the pie than you're allowed to, then you're preventing someone else from being able to take advantage of it, to take advantage of the available freedom, if we would say. So in some sense we can think of freedom as a limited resource that is available to everyone, which would be like an infinite number of us. And what we mean to say when we say that it's not a limited, or it's not an infinite resource available to a finite number of us, is that it's available to everybody, but in a finite manner. And that's not how we think about freedom these days. When we say that we are free to do as we wish, we literally think, or we literally mean that we are free to do as we wish, forgetting that when we truly do as we wish, we also interfere with someone else's ability to also express or take advantage of their own sense of freedom.
Don't go yet, there's a bonus. The best way to enjoy and have access to one's freedom is by sharing with and allowing others to enjoy theirs. Freedom acquired at the base of oppression quickly fades, as the time is lost trying to keep yours by keeping others away from theirs. And time spent is the ultimate expression of freedom.
Yeah, for this last one, it's more about how you get your own freedom. If you get to enjoy more of your freedom by oppression, again, by limiting someone else's sense of freedom, by actively doing that, you also lose your own freedom in some sense, meaning that the time you're spending trying to prevent someone from expressing their freedom fully and freely is lost by you trying to prevent them from enjoying their own freedom, if you know what I mean, right? So time at the end of the day is going to be your own ultimate expression of freedom. Being imprisoned means you can't use your time, your available time, or your free time the way you wish. And in some ways, when you waste your time trying to prevent someone else's from expressing their freedom, you're imprisoned by your need to prevent them from expressing their freedom.
Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep growing. Bye.